Well, my brand new DeWalt router apparently got hot, started smoking, and now it won't hardly run.
Charles did finish the routing, and he saved the most interesting part for last. Welcome back to our do-it-yourself radiant floor heat project. We can't wait to finish this part of the build because it's the very last step before we can finally put up the shell of our 30-foot Pacific yurt. In the previous episode, Charles had installed a subfloor on top of the structural insulated panels and set out to carve his own grooves for the heating tubes. And when we left off, he had just broken his old router and started fresh with a new one. He had started with the large outer circle, and he had just about finished it when the pleasant smell of sawdust turned into a pungent odor like burning rubber.
I smelled a bad smell.
You did?
I did.
All the way up there? Holy crap. Well, my brand new DeWalt router apparently got hot, started smoking, and now it won't hardly run. And I thought it was supposed to have a thermal protection on it where it gets hot, it'll shut down. But it never shut down. It just started smoking and quit a foot away from finishing my first circle. So we are on router number 3 to try to get these radiant floor heat tubing channels done. I'm sending my DeWalt router motor off to see if they'll get it repaired, and in the meantime I just went Harbor Freight and got the only router I could find with a little more power than the one I've got. So this is just the Harbor Freight Chicago Electric brand, and it's supposed to have thermal protection on it, so if it gets too hot it's supposed to shut down. We'll see how it goes. Today is going great. This cheap Harbor Freight router is doing great. Got 2 complete circles already done, and hopefully I'll finish the routing today. This router's not even getting hot.
I'm excited to report that Charles did finish the routing that day, and he saved the most interesting part for last.
I'm in the process of doing the turnarounds now, and to do that I just mounted it with a 2-foot radius to a circular board here, the same circular board I used to mark where the turnarounds are. And then I just set the router bit into the channel I've already done and line up the wheel with the lines that I had made before. Tighten down the screw in the middle, and that makes a pivot point. I turn it on, turn the wheel.
Good afternoon. Charles is working on the radiant floor heat, and I've been down here with pile of work number 11, trying to make a dent in that. We just need to fill up the gully and we'll be ready for topsoil. We will have several ways to heat the antifreeze in the floor tubing, so Charles installed valves to bypass the future rocket mass heater when we're not using it.
The next step, now that we're done with putting the tubing in, is to put Hardybecker on the entire floor. I'll put a layer of heavy-duty aluminum foil between the floor and the Hardybecker. After we get the Hardybecker down, then we'll build the yurt and finish it out, and tile will go on top of this. I'm in the process of pressure testing the radiant floor tubes, and I started out trying to use hose clamps that were provided actually with these valves, and they do not work. They will leak. So you really need to use the actual lock rings. And after having massive leaks all over the place, I'm finally got them all fixed, and I am holding. I'm going to let that hold while I work on my Hardybecker, and then we'll pressure test it again before we get ready to put fluid in it. I'm putting a heavy-duty aluminum foil, basically lining the floor with it, and then I'll put the Hardybecker on top of it, and the aluminum foil will help to distribute the heat from those tubes out away from the tubes more evenly onto the Hardybecker. And I'm keeping the aluminum foil back off the edge, so I'm not transmitting my heat right out to the outside of the bender board. If there was any wind at all, this wouldn't be a one-person job. But as it is, the wind is really light, so I'm taking just little pieces of Scotch tape and taping corners of the aluminum foil down. It doesn't stick real well to the OSB, but it sticks well enough to hold it until I can get Hardybecker on top of it and then get it screwed down. Well, I had something really frustrating happen, and I thought I was trying to be so careful not putting a screw through my pipe. And I was laying the Hardybecker, and I put a screw through the pipe. So I had to come back and repair it with a splice. I'm sure it'll hold fine, but it's really frustrating to have to put a splice in the middle of my one line. Okay, next morning. I got half of it done last night, half of the Hardybecker, and getting ready to do the second half. So I've got the main part of the Hardybecker down. I've got all the aluminum foil down, and I'm getting ready to cut the radius out of the Hardybecker and then use the spare pieces to fill in the edges. And that's what I'm up to this afternoon.
Good morning. It's a rainy morning in Vermont, and we can never tell when the rain will come because the forecasts here are terrible. But I picked up some more solar batteries on my way back from work, and Charles is about to install them to increase the storage capacity of our system.
We're getting ready to add 2 more batteries to our stack here because we're having to use too much propane. We want to be able to use like our electric heater and be able to go longer on cloudy days. So we're taking it from basically roughly 20 kilowatt hours to 30.
We're so close to putting up the yurt, and we really hoped to sustain our momentum. But yesterday and this morning brought 3.5 inches of rainfall, and the tarps on the yurt floor could not protect it from so much water. So Charles was feeling a bit discouraged as he added more screws to the Hardybecker and secured the bender board around the soggy circle. But the forecast for tomorrow is beautiful, and we hope to see you again soon for the raising of our new home.